The road wound like a frozen vein through the Appalachian hills, narrow and glazed with ice. Snow had fallen in thick, wet sheets since dawn, turning every mile into a quiet white tomb. Clara Benton sat in the back of a dark gray Ford pickup, her gloved hand resting against the window. The woman was striking, sharp-eyed, immaculate even in the cold, but something about her face suggested that beauty had been carved rather than born. Her driver, a tall man in a wool coat, kept his gaze steady on the road ahead. "Careful around that bend, Mason," she said softly. "Yes, ma'am." His voice was calm, measured, the tone of a man who had spent a lifetime obeying orders. Beside him sat another of her silent companions, a broad-shouldered man named Curtis, his pale eyes scanning the tree-line as if expecting it to move. They were heading toward the remnants of a mining town called Babylon Hollow, long abandoned after the coal seams dried up and the land caved in on itself. Rumor said no one who went there stayed whole. But Clara Benton wasn't like other people. She came from a family that treated death as a tool and power as a birthright. Her father, the reclusive industrialist Elias Benton, had built an empire on the bones of the land. His children, Clara, David, and Lowell, had inherited his ambitions, but none his mercy. That morning, a telegram had arrived from David. A single page of neat, cruel handwriting. "Father's last portrait lies within Babylon Hollow. He left it there before his retreat below the manor. Retrieve it for the family. Consider it our gift, to allow you to see his true face one final time." The note ended with a line that made her blood turn cold. "You were always the one best suited to survive what's left in Babylon." Clara had read the message 3 times before folding it away. She knew what it meant. David and Lowell wanted her dead. This was their trap, and she was walking straight into it. But pride, her father's favorite sin, drove her onward. By the time they reached the county line, the asphalt had vanished beneath snow. Mason slowed the truck, its chains clinking with every turn. "You ever been this far east?" Curtis asked, breaking the silence. "Once," Mason murmured. "Didn't like it. Roads end where ghosts begin." Clara smiled faintly. "My father used to say the same thing. That some towns don't die, they just wait to be fed." They drove another hour through the quiet wilderness until a sign half buried in snow came into view. Babylon Hollow, POP0. The letters were rusted, the sign leaning sideways as though ashamed of itself. Beyond it stretched a road of skeletal trees and broken houses, roofs caved in, porches sagging beneath the weight of years. "Place looks cursed," Curtis muttered. "It is," Clara said. "My father made sure of it." When the truck rolled to a stop near the town square, she stepped out into knee-deep snow. The cold bit through her coat like teeth. Before her stood the only structure still intact, a squat building painted black, its windows sealed with iron, the word Babylon stenciled across the door. Her breath left her in a plume of frost. "So this is it," she whispered. Mason and Curtis got out, flanking her like soldiers. But as she turned to give an order, the world went still. The wind stopped. The snow froze mid-fall. And her men were gone. "Mason?" she called. "Curtis?" No answer. The street was empty. Even their footprints were vanishing beneath the slow crawl of new snow. For the first time in years, Clara Benton felt something she hadn't since childhood. Fear. Then she smelled it. It wasn't decay or smoke, but something ancient, the scent of sap and wet soil, of river stones and sunlight on moss. It rolled through the frozen air like breath from the earth itself. She spun around, drawing a slender knife from her coat. Its blade shimmered black, carved from the same mineral her father once mined. Out of the storm stepped a man. He was tall, dark-skinned, his suit neat but dusted with snow. His beard was graying, his eyes the color of deep soil after rain. There was sorrow in them, and rage. He stopped a few paces away, looking not at her but at the building behind her. "Are you here to mourn it too?" he asked quietly. Clara straightened, her voice hard. "I'm here to retrieve what's mine." The man turned his gaze on her. In that instant, she felt something press against her chest, like the weight of a forest leaning down to judge her. "Clara Benton," he said, and his voice was like thunder beneath the earth. "Daughter of Elias, breaker of hills, butcher of the green. I know you." She froze. "Who are you?" "I am the part of this land your family tried to kill. The part that still breathes." The snow began to fall again, soft but relentless. "You came to steal again," he said. "Your father took the bones of the mountain, the veins of coal, the breath of trees. He built Babylon here, turned it into a place of torment and greed. And when the green struck back, he buried it, left it to rot." Clara's jaw tightened. "My father built cities. He gave people work. He created life from stone. He created misery," the man said. "I watched him feed this place blood until it learned to hunger for it. Babylon is no building, it's a wound. And it still bleeds." Clara stepped closer, anger in her tone. "Then why are you here, spirit? To finish what he started?" He looked at her with something like pity. "No. I'm here to bury it. And to decide if you deserve to live." The words struck like a blow. "You'd kill me for his sins?" "For your own," he said. "You carry his cruelty like a badge." Her fingers tightened around the knife. "If you mean to stop me, you'll have to try harder than a sermon." The man didn't move. "Then give me one reason," he said softly, "why I shouldn't tear the heart from your chest and let this land drink its fill." For a long moment neither spoke. The storm screamed around them, and the black facade of Babylon loomed like an open grave. Something hung above the pit, a large canvas draped in rotten silk. The portrait. Her father's face. With trembling hands, she reached up and tore the fabric away. What looked back at her was no man. The features were familiar, the jawline, the dark hair, but the eyes, they were empty holes burning with pale blue light. His smile was carved too wide, stretching beyond human limits. Beneath the paint, something moved. A shadow. Then, a voice, low, honeyed, and terrible. "My clever girl." The words came from everywhere at once. "Father," she gasped. "You came home," the voice whispered. "They sent you to die, but I knew you'd come. You always wanted to see my true face." The light from the pit flared, washing the room in ghostly blue. Figures rose from the shadows, men and women with hollow eyes, their bodies twisted like wax melted and reshaped. The forgotten patrons of Babylon. "Do you see them?" the voice purred. "They gave everything for me. Will you?" Clara's knife trembled in her hand. "You're not him. I am what he became," the voice said. "The hunger that built this place. The thing that learned to love the sound of screaming." The portrait pulsed. The paint began to bubble, the face inside straining to crawl free. "Join me, daughter," it whispered. "Together we can finish what the green could not destroy." Clara stepped back, shaking her head. "No. It ends here." She hurled the knife into the canvas. The room exploded in light. The scream that followed was not human. It was the shriek of a mountain splitting open, of roots tearing through rock. The floor cracked beneath her. The walls began to bleed black oil that steamed where it touched air. The portrait writhed, its eyes bursting into flames. The well of remembrance roared, the faces of the dead rising in its glow. "Foolish child," the voice thundered. "You cannot kill what you are!" But Clara didn't stop. She tore open the fuel canister she'd brought in her coat, a trick from her mining days, and poured it across the floor. She struck a match. The flames raced outward, hungry and bright. The portraits on the walls screamed as they burned. The ceiling collapsed. As the fire reached the well, a blinding light consumed the room, and a final sound, like the sigh of an old god, echoed through the hollow. Then silence. When the storm cleared the next morning, Babylon Hollow was gone. All that remained was a circle of scorched earth where the building had stood. Smoke curled into the gray sky, carrying the scent of pine and ash. A lone figure stood at the edge of the clearing. The man with the dark beard. He looked at the ashes for a long time before kneeling. His fingers brushed the soil, warm still, but calm. She did it, he murmured. For once, one of them chose to break the chain. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer, not for Clara, but for the land. And for the first time in generations, the ground of Babylon Hollow slept.